Have you ever studied English for months, or even years, yet still freeze the moment someone starts speaking to you? You know hundreds of words, you understand grammar rules, you can read articles, watch YouTube videos with subtitles, and maybe even pass an English exam. But when it's your turn to speak, your mind suddenly goes blank. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Millions of English learners around the world experience the exact same problem. And the reason isn't that you're lazy. It isn't that you're bad at languages. And it definitely isn't because you're too old to become fluent. The real reason is much simpler. Most people practice English in a way that the human brain was never designed to learn spoken language. Think about how children learn their first language. They don't memorize vocabulary lists every morning. They don't spend years studying grammar before saying their first sentence. Instead, they listen, they imitate, they repeat, and they slowly build natural speaking ability through constant exposure. Their brains learn the rhythm, pronunciation, stress, and melody of the language before they ever understand grammar rules. In other words, they learn by copying real speech. And surprisingly, science suggests that adults can benefit from the same principle. Today, you're going to discover one of the most effective English learning techniques ever developed, a technique used by interpreters, language coaches, polyglots, and advanced learners around the world. It's called shadowing. If you've never heard of it before, don't worry. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what shadowing is, why it works so well, how to practice it correctly, the biggest mistakes learners make, and how you can use it every day to dramatically improve your English speaking skills. Before we begin, let me ask you one simple question. When was the last time you actually practiced speaking English? Instead of just studying English, there's a huge difference. Reading vocabulary isn't speaking. Watching English videos silently isn't speaking. Completing grammar exercises isn't speaking. Your brain becomes fluent by producing language, not just consuming it. This is where shadowing changes everything. Shadowing is a learning method where you listen to a native speaker and repeat exactly what they say almost immediately, as if you're becoming their shadow. You copy not only the words but also the pronunciation, the rhythm, the intonation, the emotion, and even the speed. Imagine walking behind someone so closely that every step they take, you take a split second later. That's exactly how shadowing works with language. At first it feels strange. You might miss words, your tongue may feel slow, your pronunciation may sound awkward. That's completely normal. Every expert was once a beginner. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is training your brain and mouth to work together automatically. One of the reasons shadowing is so powerful is because it activates multiple parts of your brain at the same time. Instead of simply reading words on a page, you're listening carefully, processing sounds, understanding meaning, controlling your speech muscles, and speaking aloud almost simultaneously. This creates stronger neural connections than passive learning alone. Neuroscientists often describe the brain as something that changes based on repeated experience. This concept is known as neuroplasticity. Every time you repeat a speaking pattern correctly, your brain strengthens the pathways responsible for producing that language. The more often you repeat those pathways, the more automatic they become. That's why fluent speakers don't stop to translate every sentence in their heads. Their brains have already built fast, efficient speaking patterns through repeated exposure and practice. Many successful polyglots rely heavily on imitation. Instead of trying to invent perfect sentences from day one, they spend hours copying natural speech. Why? Because real conversations follow predictable patterns. Native speakers use common expressions, connected speech, contractions, and natural rhythm that textbooks often fail to teach. Imagine learning to play the guitar. Would you become a great guitarist by only reading books about music theory? Of course not. Eventually, you must pick up the guitar and practice playing real songs. Language works exactly the same way. Speaking is a skill, and skills improve through practice, not through memorization alone. Research in second language acquisition has consistently shown that learners improve faster when they receive large amounts of meaningful spoken input and actively practice producing language. Linguist Stephen Krashen emphasized the importance of understandable language input, while other researchers have highlighted the value of repeated oral production in building fluency. Shadowing combines both listening and speaking into one powerful exercise. Another fascinating benefit of shadowing is pronunciation improvement. Many learners believe pronunciation depends on having a special talent or a perfect accent. That's simply not true. Pronunciation is largely a physical skill. Just like learning to ride a bicycle or play basketball, your mouth, tongue, lips, and breathing muscles become more coordinated with practice. Every time you imitate clear speech, you're teaching those muscles to move in new ways. Think about professional singers. Before performing, they don't just read lyrics silently. They practice aloud again and again until every note becomes natural. Actors do the same with scripts. Athletes repeat movements thousands of times before competitions. Repetition isn't boring. Repetition is how excellence is built. But here's the important part. Shadowing isn't about repeating random words. It's about repeating real English spoken naturally by real people. That means podcasts, interviews, documentaries, audiobooks, TED-style talks, educational YouTube videos, and conversations can all become your classroom. Now you might be wondering, if shadowing is so effective, why don't more English learners use it? The answer is surprisingly simple, because it's challenging. Unlike passive learning, shadowing forces you to stay focused every second. Your brain can't drift away because you're constantly listening and speaking at the same time. It's mentally demanding, but that's exactly why it works. There's another mistake many learners make. They believe speaking practice should begin only after they've learned enough vocabulary. In reality, waiting until you know enough often becomes an endless excuse. Fluency isn't the reward you receive after studying. Fluency is something you develop while practicing. Remember this powerful idea. You don't become confident first, and then start speaking. You start speaking, and confidence grows naturally from experience. Imagine two English learners. One studies vocabulary for an hour every day but never speaks aloud. The other spends 20 minutes shadowing real conversations every day. After 6 months, who do you think will feel more comfortable during an actual conversation? In most cases, the second learner, not because they know more words, but because they've trained their brain to process spoken English in real time. That's the hidden secret of shadowing. It doesn't simply teach English. It teaches your brain how to think in English. And once that process begins, everything starts changing. Your listening becomes clearer, your pronunciation becomes smoother, your speaking becomes faster, your confidence grows, and little by little, English stops feeling like a subject and starts becoming a language you can actually use. Now that you understand what shadowing is, let's answer the question that really matters. Why does shadowing work so much better than many traditional study methods? The answer lies in how the human brain learns language. When you first hear English, your brain doesn't process individual words one by one. Instead, it recognizes patterns. It notices how sounds connect, where speakers pause, how their voice rises and falls, and which words naturally appear together. Over time, these patterns become automatic. This is why native speakers don't build sentences by remembering grammar rules every time they talk. They retrieve patterns they've heard thousands of times before. Unfortunately, many English learners do the opposite. They memorize isolated vocabulary. They study grammar chapter after chapter. They translate every sentence from their native language into English. And then they wonder why speaking feels painfully slow. Imagine trying to solve a math equation every single time you wanted to say, "How are you?" That would be exhausting. Yet that's exactly what many learners do with English. Shadowing breaks this habit. Instead of translating, your brain starts recognizing complete phrases as a single unit. For example, instead of thinking, plus would, plus like, plus to, plus order, plus coffee, your brain begins recognizing, "I'd like to order a coffee," as one natural expression. This dramatically increases speaking speed. Psychologists often describe this process as chunking. Rather than remembering hundreds of separate pieces of information, your brain groups them together into larger, meaningful chunks. That's exactly how fluent speakers communicate. They don't invent every sentence from scratch. They combine familiar language patterns effortlessly. And shadowing trains this ability every single day. Another reason shadowing works is something researchers call active recall. Passive learning feels comfortable watching videos, reading articles, listening to podcasts. These activities are useful, but they create an illusion of progress. You think you're learning because everything makes sense while you're listening. Then someone asks you a question, and suddenly, nothing comes out. Why? Because recognition is easier than production. Recognizing a word and producing it are completely different skills. Shadowing forces production. Every sentence you hear immediately becomes a sentence you speak. Your mouth learns, your ears learn, your memory becomes stronger, your confidence increases. One fascinating study in language acquisition found that learners who actively produced language remembered vocabulary significantly better than learners who only read or listened. Speaking isn't just a way to demonstrate learning. Speaking is part of learning itself. Now here's something most people don't realize. Shadowing also improves listening. That sounds strange at first. How can speaking improve listening? Think about music. A drummer understands rhythm differently from someone who only listens to songs. A pianist hears musical patterns ordinary listeners completely miss. The act of performing changes the way your brain processes sound. Language works exactly the same way. As you imitate pronunciation, your brain becomes better at recognizing pronunciation. As you copy rhythm, your ears become more sensitive to rhythm. As you repeat connected speech, you begin understanding native speakers much faster. You'll suddenly notice expressions that used to sound impossible. Words that once blended together become crystal clear. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, but it happens much faster than most people expect. Now let's talk about the correct way to practice shadowing, because many learners accidentally turn shadowing into simple repetition. That's not enough. Here's a step-by-step system you can follow every day. Step 1. Choose audio that's slightly above your current level, not too easy, not impossibly difficult. If you understand around 70 to 80%, you've found the perfect material. This could be a podcast, a YouTube interview, an audiobook, a speech, or even scenes from your favorite TV show. The important thing is that the speaker has clear pronunciation. Don't begin with extremely fast conversations. Build your confidence first. Step 2. Listen once without speaking. Just pay attention. Notice the rhythm. Notice the speaker's emotion. Notice how words connect naturally. Don't worry if you miss details. Your goal is simply becoming familiar with the audio. Step 3. Listen again this time. Shadow the speaker immediately. Don't pause after every sentence. Don't translate. Don't analyze grammar. Simply follow if you miss a word. Keep going. Professional simultaneous interpreters don't stop every time they hear something unexpected. Neither should you. Momentum is more important than perfection. Step 4. Repeat the same recording several times. The first attempt may feel terrible. The second feels easier. The third becomes smoother by the fifth repetition. You'll often surprise yourself. Sentences that seemed impossible just minutes earlier suddenly feel natural. This is your brain adapting. Never underestimate repetition. Progress hides inside repetition. Step 5. Record yourself. Yes. It feels uncomfortable. Almost everyone hates hearing their own voice. But recording yourself reveals mistakes your brain completely ignores while speaking. Compare your recording with the original. Ask yourself, did my rhythm match? Was my pronunciation clear? Did I copy the speaker's emotion? Where did I hesitate? Each comparison teaches you something valuable little by little. Those small improvements become dramatic. Now here's another important secret. Don't practice for 2 hours one day, then skip the next 6 days. Language learning rewards consistency far more than intensity. 15 focused minutes every day will usually produce better results than one exhausting 3-hour session every weekend. Think of brushing your teeth. You don't brush for 3 hours on Sunday to avoid brushing all week. You do it every day. English works the same way. Small daily improvement becomes extraordinary over time. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, famously wrote that small improvements repeated consistently create remarkable long-term results. Shadowing is the perfect example. One session doesn't transform you. 100 sessions absolutely will. But there's something even more powerful eventually. You'll notice yourself using phrases from your shadowing practice during real conversations, without thinking, without translating, without memorizing. They simply appear naturally. That's the moment you realize something incredible. You're no longer studying English. You're beginning to live in English, and that changes everything. Now, here's something that surprises many English learners. Some people practice shadowing for months and see incredible improvement. Others practice for weeks and barely notice any difference. So what's the difference? It's not intelligence, it's not talent, and it's definitely not age. The difference is how they practice. Let's look at the biggest mistakes that silently slow down your progress. Mistake number 1. Choosing material that's too difficult. Many learners believe that faster English equals better practice, so they jump straight into fast-paced movies, complicated podcasts, or interviews filled with slang. Within 2 minutes, they're completely lost. They stop every few seconds, they become frustrated, and eventually, they quit. Challenge is good, confusion is not. Your goal isn't to understand everything, but you should understand most of what you're hearing. If the audio feels impossible, your brain spends all its energy trying to decode individual words instead of learning pronunciation and rhythm. Start with clear, natural English. As your skills improve, gradually increase the difficulty. Think of it like lifting weights. If you've never been to the gym, you don't begin with the heaviest weights. You build strength one step at a time. Language learning follows the same principle. Mistake number 2. Focusing only on individual words. Many learners pause after every sentence to check a dictionary. This destroys the natural flow of speech. Remember, native speakers don't think word by word, they think in phrases. Instead of memorizing isolated vocabulary, pay attention to expressions like, at the end of the day, to be honest, depends on, far as I know. These expressions appear again and again in real conversations. When you shadow them repeatedly, they become part of your natural speaking style. Mistake number 3. Speaking too quietly. Some learners whisper, others move their lips without making any sound. Unfortunately, your brain doesn't receive the same training. Speak clearly, speak confidently. Even if your pronunciation isn't perfect, your speaking muscles need real practice. Don't worry about sounding silly. Every fluent English speaker sounded like a beginner once. The only difference is they kept practicing. Mistake number 4. Ignoring emotion. Language isn't just words, it's emotion. It's excitement, it's surprise, it's curiosity. If the speaker sounds excited, you should sound excited. If the speaker speaks softly, copy that too. This teaches your brain the natural melody of English without emotion. Even perfect pronunciation can sound robotic with emotion. Your English immediately becomes more engaging. Actors know this, public speakers know this, great communicators know this. Now you do too. Mistake number 5. Giving up too early. This may be the biggest mistake of all. Many learners expect dramatic improvement after 1 week. When that doesn't happen, they assume shadowing doesn't work. But think about learning to ride a bicycle. The first day feels impossible. The second day feels slightly better. Then one day, without realizing it, you're riding confidently. Language learning often feels exactly the same. Progress is invisible until suddenly it isn't. Now let's make this practical. I want to give you a simple 30-day shadowing challenge. If you complete it honestly, you'll notice a real difference in your confidence, pronunciation, listening, and speaking. Week 1. Build the habit. Spend just 10 minutes every day. Choose a short recording that's about 1 minute long. Listen once. Then shadow it 3 or 4 times. Don't worry about mistakes. Your goal this week isn't perfection, it's consistency. Week 2. Improve accuracy. Increase your practice to 15 minutes. Now start paying attention to pronunciation, stress, and intonation. Record yourself. Compare your voice with the original. Notice one thing you can improve each day, not 10 things, just one. Small improvements add up. Week 3. Build speed. Continue with 15 to 20 minutes daily. Choose slightly faster material. Challenge yourself, but don't overwhelm yourself. By now, you'll probably notice that your mouth feels more relaxed, speaking becomes smoother. You hesitate less. That's a sign your brain is adapting. Week 4, speak independently. This is where the magic happens. After shadowing a recording, turn it off. Now explain the same idea using your own words. It doesn't have to be perfect. The goal is simple: move from imitation to communication, because imitation builds the foundation. Communication builds fluency. By the end of 30 days, you may not sound like a native speaker, and that's perfectly okay. Fluency isn't about sounding native. It's about expressing your thoughts clearly, naturally, and confidently. Remember, even native speakers have different accents. Your goal isn't perfection. Your goal is effective communication, one conversation at a time, one sentence at a time, one practice session at a time. You'll be amazed by what consistent effort can accomplish. There's a famous Chinese proverb that says, "The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now." The same is true for your English. Maybe you've wasted months using methods that didn't work. Maybe you've started and stopped more times than you can count. That doesn't matter. What matters is what you do next. Because every fluent English speaker once stood exactly where you are today, unsure, nervous, making mistakes, wondering if they would ever become fluent. The difference wasn't talent. The difference was that they refused to stop. And neither should you. Let's finish with one important truth. There is no magic app, no secret grammar book, no vocabulary list that will suddenly make you fluent overnight. If such a shortcut existed, millions of English learners would already be fluent. The people who speak English confidently today aren't necessarily smarter than you. They simply spent more time interacting with real English. And shadowing is one of the fastest ways to do exactly that. Think about professional athletes before a championship. A football player doesn't just read about passing techniques. A swimmer doesn't become faster by watching races. A pianist doesn't master a difficult piece by reading the sheet music once. Every expert understands one simple principle: performance improves through deliberate practice. Language is no different. Every sentence you shadow is another repetition, another improvement, another step closer to fluency. You may not notice dramatic progress after one day, but imagine practicing just 20 minutes every day. That's over 10 hours in 1 month. More than 100 hours in a year. Now imagine speaking thousands of English sentences during those hours. How could you not improve? One inspiring example comes from many self-taught language learners around the world. Before streaming services, language learning apps, and AI tools even existed, people learned English by repeatedly listening to cassette tapes, radio broadcasts, and television programs. They didn't have perfect resources, they had persistence. They replayed the same recordings dozens of times. They copied every sentence. They made countless mistakes. And eventually, those mistakes became confidence. Technology has changed. The learning principle hasn't. Today, you have access to podcasts, audiobooks, YouTube videos, interviews, documentaries, movies, and AI-powered tools that can slow down audio, display subtitles, and help you practice pronunciation. You have more opportunities than any generation before you. The question isn't whether the resources exist. The question is whether you'll use them consistently. Now let's explore a few advanced shadowing techniques. The first is called delayed shadowing. Instead of repeating immediately, wait 1 or 2 seconds before speaking. This small delay forces your brain to remember what you just heard instead of simply copying sounds. It's more challenging, but it strengthens both listening and short-term memory. The second technique is emotion shadowing. Don't just imitate the words, imitate the speaker's feelings. If they're telling an exciting story, speak with excitement. If they're giving serious advice, use a calm, thoughtful tone. If they're making a joke, smile while you speak. Believe it or not, smiling changes your voice. It makes your English sound warmer and more natural. Professional voice actors use this trick all the time. The third technique is mirror shadowing. Stand in front of a mirror while practicing. Watch your mouth. Notice how your lips move. Observe your facial expressions. This may feel unusual at first, but it helps improve pronunciation and speaking confidence. Many public speakers rehearse in front of mirrors before important presentations. You can do the same. The fourth technique is walking shadowing. Instead of sitting at your desk, go for a walk, shadow your audio while moving. Research has shown that light physical activity can improve focus and memory for many people. Walking also helps your breathing become more natural, making your speech smoother and more relaxed. The fifth technique is one of the most powerful. It's called record, compare, improve. Choose one recording today. Record yourself shadowing it. Save the recording. Now don't listen to it again for 1 month. Practice every day. After 30 days, record the same audio again. Then compare both recordings. The improvement will probably surprise you. Sometimes we don't notice our own progress because it happens gradually. Old recordings reveal just how far you've come. And here's something that every English learner needs to hear. You do not need a perfect accent to speak excellent English. English is a global language. People from India, Japan, Brazil, Germany, Nigeria, Spain, South Korea, and hundreds of other places speak English every day with different accents. Communication matters more than imitation. Clear speech, confident speech, natural speech. Those are the real goals. Don't let the fear of making mistakes stop you from speaking. Mistakes are not proof that you're failing. They're proof that you're learning. Every mistake teaches your brain something new. Every correction makes you stronger. Every conversation builds confidence. As the famous basketball player Michael Jordan once said, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. I've failed over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed." Language learning follows the same philosophy. Every incorrect sentence brings you one step closer to a correct one. Every hesitation becomes smoother with practice. Every difficult conversation prepares you for the next. Imagine yourself 1 year from today. You walk into an interview. You travel to another country, you meet someone from another culture, or you simply join an online conversation in English instead of worrying, instead of translating, instead of staying silent. You smile, you answer confidently, you express your ideas naturally. That future version of yourself isn't created by luck, it's created by the choices you make today. So here's my challenge to you starting tomorrow. Spend just 20 minutes shadowing real English, not once, not twice, but every single day for the next 30 days. Don't judge yourself after one session. Judge yourself after 1 month. Because consistency always beats intensity. Remember this simple formula. Listen carefully. Repeat immediately. Copy the rhythm. Copy the pronunciation. Repeat every day. That's shadowing. Simple, powerful, and proven. Your English doesn't improve when you wish for it. It improves when you practice it. So stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop worrying about sounding perfect. And stop telling yourself you're not good at English, not bad at English. You simply haven't had enough high-quality speaking practice yet. And today, you know exactly how to begin. If this video helped you understand the power of shadowing, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our weekly English learning lessons. And before you leave, tell me in the comments, what's the biggest challenge you face when speaking English? I read your comments, and I may feature your question in a future video. Until next time, keep listening, keep speaking, keep shadowing, and remember, every sentence you practice today is another step toward the fluent English speaker you're becoming. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.